My name is Danny Koker, D-A-N-N-Y, last name K-O-K-E-R, a nickname Count, C-O-U-N-T, owner of Count's Kustoms, and Kustoms is with a K, K-U-S-T-O-M-S. We find ourselves occasionally standing around going, you know what, where were we this time last year?
Nobody saw the betrayal coming. For 9 years, Counting Cars was one of the History Channel's most beloved shows. A Las Vegas-based automotive dream that turned Danny the Count Koker and his crew at Count's Kustoms into some of the most recognizable faces in reality television. For a decade, the formula seemed bulletproof until it all stopped. After 184 episodes spread across 10 seasons, Counting Cars went dark in December 2021. What fans found when they started digging was a series of terrifying discoveries that had been piling up for years. What was the terrifying discovery that changed everything at Count's Kustoms? Join us as we pull back the curtain on the unfiltered truth behind Counting Cars' shocking shutdown. The rise of the Count.
Everywhere, man. I'm turning over rocks, I'm digging in people's backyards, I'm peeking in garage doors. I'm never stopping, never stopping.
To understand how devastating Counting Cars' sudden end was, it's important to understand how remarkable its existence was in the first place. Because Danny Koker didn't stumble into television fame through luck or connections, he earned it through decades of hard work and an obsessive passion for cars that had been burning inside him since before he could drive. Danny was born into a family where Ford Motor Company was practically a religion. Multiple family members worked at Ford, meaning Danny grew up immersed in automotive culture from his earliest memories. When Danny's family relocated to Las Vegas, he carried all of that automotive passion with him into the desert. But he also discovered a second calling in the city of entertainment: performing. Las Vegas in the late 1980s was a place where distinctive personalities could carve out loyal local followings, and Danny became a fixture as Count Cool Rider, hosting a weekly B-movie horror showcase called Saturday Fright at the Movies on local television station KFBT. That gig gave him his enduring nickname, The Count, and built him a base of devoted local fans who loved his theatrical, larger-than-life personality. Meanwhile, Danny and his father quietly established a small automotive shop in Las Vegas, starting modestly with cars for themselves and friends. But word of mouth is powerful when your work is exceptional, and that modest operation gradually evolved into Count's Kustoms, a full-service custom car and motorcycle restoration shop that would eventually become known around the world. The bridge to national television was built through an unexpected friendship. Rick Harrison, the owner of Gold and Silver Pawn Shop and the star of History Channel's massively successful Pawn Stars, knew Danny through Las Vegas's tight-knit entertainment community. Whenever a classic car or vintage motorcycle came through the pawn shop's doors, Rick would call his friend Danny for expert opinions. Danny appeared on Pawn Stars at least 21 times between 2010 and 2013, displaying on-screen charisma, depth of knowledge, and natural warmth that caught the attention of History Channel executives. The pitch for Counting Cars practically wrote itself. Take the fan-favorite car expert from Pawn Stars, give him his own show, follow his real shop, document the builds, personalities, and drama, and set the whole thing against the neon-soaked backdrop of Las Vegas. On August 13, 2012, Counting Cars premiered immediately after Pawn Stars in a primetime slot, and the ratings were enormous from the very first night. Danny was reportedly earning $100,000 per episode. Count's Kustoms, which had once quietly served local clients, was now internationally famous. Custom car lovers from around the world flew to Las Vegas just to visit the shop, buy merchandise, and hopefully catch a glimpse of Danny and his crew in action. For a few golden years, everything worked perfectly. The crew delivered spectacular builds, the chemistry between cast members was genuinely compelling, and the Las Vegas setting gave the show a visual energy no other automotive program could match. But the higher you climb, the harder certain problems hit when they arrive. And behind the cameras at Count's Customs, some very serious problems were beginning to arise. So, when did the cracks first appear in the counting cars story? And what was the terrifying internal discovery that shook Count's Customs to its very foundation, the betrayal from within?
I love to do custom motorcycles, custom chops, things like that, and personalize them to an extent. But we had a guy one time who wanted me to build a golf-themed bike.
Of all the blows that counting cars absorbed during its final years, none was more personally devastating to Danny Koker than what happened inside his own shop. Because Danny had always operated Count's Customs like a family, hiring people he trusted and creating an environment where loyalty and camaraderie were supposed to be non-negotiable values. That trust was shattered when it emerged that a cast member associated with Count's Customs had been stealing from the shop. The alleged embezzlement was a gut punch, not just financially, but emotionally. This wasn't an anonymous thief who had broken in through a window in the middle of the night. This was someone who had been welcomed into the Count's Customs family, someone who had smiled for the cameras, worked alongside the crew, and been trusted with access to the shop's inner workings. The alleged theft exploited exactly the kind of access that comes with deep trust. Working in a role that touched the shop's financial and operational systems, the individual had the opportunity to divert funds over an extended period, quietly draining resources that Danny and his team had earned through years of hard work and talent. By the time the scheme was discovered, the damage extended far beyond the money itself. The discovery rippled through Count's Customs in ways that went far beyond the immediate financial loss. Every business runs on trust. Trust that colleagues are working toward shared goals. Trust that money earned through hard work is being handled honestly. Trust that the relationships you've built with people are genuine. When that trust is violated by someone in your inner circle, it poisons everything. Management has to implement oversight that wasn't necessary before. The easy, organic family atmosphere that had made Count's Customs such a compelling place to work and watch became impossible to preserve. Behind the cameras, which were still rolling through these turbulent events, the shop had to manage the legal and administrative fallout from the embezzlement while simultaneously producing entertainment for millions of viewers. Investigations require audits, legal consultations, and intensive documentation of what happened and for how long. Those processes consume enormous amounts of time and management attention that could no longer be directed toward building cars and making good television. For Danny personally, the betrayal cut to the bone. He had poured decades of his life into building Count's Customs into something he was deeply proud of. He had invited television cameras in to share that pride with the world, and someone on the inside had exploited that openness to steal from the business Danny had built from nothing. The embezzlement was devastating enough on its own, but at the same time, Count's Customs was fighting another very public and damaging legal battle. What happened with the Mustang lawsuit that dragged the shop's name through the mud? The Mustang lawsuit.
All this time that this show was on in Vegas, Saturday, Friday at the movies with Count Cool Rider, behind the scenes, I was doing this cars and bikes.
Custom car restoration is a business built on one foundational thing: trust. When a customer hands over their beloved classic, sometimes a vehicle worth six figures, sometimes carrying decades of irreplaceable sentimental value, they're making themselves completely vulnerable to the shop they've chosen. They trust those craftsmen to honor their vision, respect their budget, and return something even better than what they surrendered. Count's Customs found itself at the center of exactly that kind of dispute when a customer sued the shop over a Mustang restoration project that allegedly went far over budget. Known as the Hurt Mustang lawsuit, named after the plaintiff, the case alleged that Count's Customs had dramatically exceeded the agreed-upon restoration budget, leaving the customer facing a bill far larger than what had been discussed at the start of the project. The plaintiff claimed that Count's Customs performed work beyond authorization, racking up charges without proper notification or customer approval at each step. Count's Customs disputed this version of events, maintaining that all work was necessary and had been properly sanctioned. But the dispute was serious enough to end up in legal proceedings, and in the world of reality television, where your entire brand depends on appearing trustworthy, a public lawsuit from a dissatisfied customer is damaging regardless of how it ultimately resolves. The timing could not have been worse. Kustoms was simultaneously managing the embezzlement investigation internally and the Mustang lawsuit publicly. Danny and his management team were fighting battles on two completely separate fronts, one threatening the shop's internal integrity and one threatening its external reputation, while the cameras kept rolling and the episodes kept airing. The lawsuit directly undermined one of Counting Cars' most important selling points, the idea that Kustoms was a place customers could trust completely. When a former client goes public, claiming the shop charged dramatically more than agreed, it cracks the authentic image that the shop had spent years carefully building. Potential customers watching the lawsuit unfold couldn't help wondering whether the trustworthy shop they saw on the History Channel was the real Kustoms they'd encounter if they brought in their own vehicle. Both the embezzlement investigation and the Mustang lawsuit created serious complications for what History Channel's production team could and couldn't film. Anything documented on camera relating to either matter could potentially end up as evidence in legal proceedings, and those editorial restrictions fundamentally compromised a reality show's ability to document authentic behind-the-scenes operations. Authenticity was the entire foundation of Counting Cars' appeal. With legal battles consuming resources and attention from multiple directions, how did the show's viewership hold up? And when did History Channel start quietly questioning Counting Cars' future? The ratings slide.
Seeing a lot of that. There's so much, the older classics, which are always, in my heart.
Every long-running reality television show eventually faces the same fundamental challenge. How do you keep millions of viewers excited about the same core concept year after year without it becoming repetitive and predictable? For Counting Cars, that challenge became progressively more difficult to solve as the seasons piled up, and the formula became completely familiar to loyal fans. The show's ratings had been declining steadily in its later seasons, a trend that History Channel executives were monitoring closely even as they continued to commission new seasons. The early magic of watching Danny Crew's Las Vegas streets hunting for hidden classics, then watching his crew work mechanical miracles, had a genuine freshness in 2012 and 2013. But by 2018 and 2019, regular viewers who had watched for years knew exactly how each segment would unfold before it started. The discovery, the negotiation, the build complications, the dramatic reveal, the satisfied customer, every time like clockwork. Familiarity breeds the most dangerous enemy of any reality show. Viewers who had once cleared their schedules specifically for Counting Cars started treating it as background noise rather than a must-see weekly appointment. Those viewers hadn't exactly stopped being fans, but they stopped driving the passionate engagement that produces the strong ratings and premium advertising rates networks need to justify continued investment. The competition for automotive content had also exploded dramatically since the show premiered. When Counting Cars debuted in 2012, it occupied a relatively uncrowded lane alongside Fast and Loud and a small number of other cable shows. By 2019 and 2020, YouTube alone offered thousands of automotive creators producing genuinely excellent content. Netflix and Amazon had commissioned their own car programming. The overall audience for automotive content was growing, but it was distributed across a vastly larger number of destinations, diluting each show's share. Creative differences between Danny and the show's producers had also been quietly building behind the scenes for years. Danny wanted more freedom to pursue ambitious builds that genuinely excited his crew. Producers accountable to network executives pushed for content that preserved the familiar formula that drove early success. Neither side was entirely wrong, but the disagreement created persistent friction that gradually wore everyone down. Cast changes had also altered the chemistry that made early seasons so compelling. Original business manager Scott Jones departed between the second and third seasons after relocating to Tennessee following the birth of his son. Fan favorite Rolly Sabo left after season 6. Kevin Mack's occasional unexplained absences became a topic of fan speculation that neither the channel nor Kevin ever addressed publicly. Each departure changed the ensemble dynamic that viewers had grown attached to. By late 2020, when History Channel was deciding how to allocate its post-pandemic resources, Counting Cars had accumulated a troubling list of problems: declining ratings, dual legal battles, unresolved creative tensions, and a changed cast dynamic. The pandemic created a natural pause. History Channel used that pause to quietly make a decision. How exactly did COVID-19 deliver the final blow? And how did History Channel manage to end the show without ever officially canceling it? The shutdown that never ended.
Hey everybody, what's happening? Danny the Count Koker here. We're hanging out in beautiful Snoqualmie Casino. You know me from Counting Cars on History.
When COVID-19 began shutting down American society in March 2020, every television production in the country came to an abrupt halt overnight. History Channel suspended filming across its entire programming slate, including Counting Cars, with no reliable timeline for when normal production could resume safely. The pandemic's impact on Las Vegas was uniquely catastrophic. The city's entire economy depends on tourism, entertainment, and hospitality, industries that essentially ceased to exist when travel restrictions went into effect, and gathering limits shuttered the casinos, concerts, and conventions that keep Las Vegas functioning. For Count's Kustoms, which had benefited enormously from tourist foot traffic and fan visits, the pandemic created devastating conditions layered on top of the legal and creative difficulties already in progress. Danny attempted to adapt by launching Count's Culture on YouTube, a channel featuring classic muscle car restorations while documenting the challenges of operating a custom shop during pandemic conditions. It was a smart entrepreneurial pivot that kept content flowing to fans while the History Channel show sat in limbo. But Count's Culture couldn't generate the audience or revenue of the network show. The project was short-lived. Counting Cars Season 10 eventually premiered on September 15, 2021, demonstrating that History Channel had committed to one final run despite all the accumulated complications. But the last episode of that season aired on December 1, 2021, and then permanent silence descended. No Season 11 announcement, no renewal order, just the absence of any information that said everything while saying nothing at all. The pandemic handed History Channel a uniquely clean exit strategy. When production halts globally, networks can quietly allow certain shows to expire without the messy politics of a formal cancellation announcement. The show simply doesn't return when production resumes elsewhere, and the silence speaks for itself to anyone paying attention. History Channel has never made an official statement confirming Counting Cars was canceled. The show remains technically in an unannounced hiatus more than 3 years later, a ghost on the network's books. For Danny and his crew, the silence from History Channel carried a message that required no official press release to decode. The show was over. Whatever came next would need to be built without the platform that had made them internationally famous. Where is Danny actually at today? And what does Count's Kustoms look like without the cameras? The Count lives on.
With the man himself, it's Danny Koker. It's good to see you, man.
Brother, it's great to see you, and by the way, you have great taste in television viewing.
As of 2025, Danny the Count Koker is alive, healthy, active, and very much still the undisputed king of Count's Kustoms. He attended SEMA 2025 with his entire team, one of the most prestigious automotive industry events in the world, demonstrating beyond any doubt that Danny and his crew remain at the very forefront of the custom car world. Count's Kustoms remains fully operational in Las Vegas, taking on custom car and motorcycle builds for clients who seek the world-class fabrication and paintwork that made the shop famous long before History Channel arrived. The shop's social media pages are consistently active, featuring finished builds, works in progress, and team appearances at car shows and events, all confirming that the passion and skill driving Count's Customs never required television cameras. The shop also operates as a tourist attraction with a free daily museum where fans visiting Las Vegas can view iconic builds from the show's entire run-up, close, and connect with the Count's Customs brand in a way most canceled reality shows audiences never get to experience. That tangible, visitable legacy gives Counting Cars something remarkably rare, a physical place where the show's spirit genuinely lives on. Danny continues fronting Counts 77, his Las Vegas hard rock band playing 1970s-style music with the same passion he brings to classic American cars. The band performs regularly across Vegas venues, maintaining Danny's connection to the entertainment world that shaped him. Between the rock shows, the car builds, and the museum tours, it's abundantly clear that Danny Koker doesn't need History Channel's cameras to lead a full and fulfilling professional life. Kevin Mack remains tightly bound to Count's Customs, his steadfast loyalty through the shop's most difficult years, proving exactly why Danny has always called him irreplaceable. Ryan Evans continues to create custom paintwork, ranking among the finest in the automotive industry. Shannon Akau's motorcycle fabrication expertise remains as sought after as ever. Danny's estimated net worth is $13 million, accumulated over 9 years through Counting Cars, Count's Customs' ongoing business, his music career, and multiple other ventures. That financial security means Danny operates from a position of genuine strength, not desperation for television work. And the door isn't completely closed. History Channel has still never officially canceled Counting Cars. The show technically sits in permanent hiatus rather than a confirmed grave. The shop is operational. The crew is building incredible vehicles. The audience hasn't gone anywhere. Nothing prevents a network or streaming service from deciding that cameras belong back at Count's Customs. Whether that day comes or not, Danny Koker will be standing in his shop, building something spectacular when it does. So, what do you think was the real killer of Counting Cars? Was it the internal betrayal of embezzlement that shattered the shop's culture of trust from within? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.